Hey there guys, welcome to another time lapse here on the channel. Going to be making a Wicked poster time lapse in this video. Working on just a smaller poster of the famous Broadway play Wicked, and I'm going to be using a black background for this. You'll see in the image when I show it to you that most of the background is actually black, so definitely wanted to use black for the background here. Once again, putting it on cardstock just to make it more portable. There's the image right there. Going to be using lime green first, and you'll see that the colors on the image are kind of like a sickly green color. It's not exactly the same color as lime green, but unfortunately there's no other color that's closer to that, so I'm going to be using the lime green. And I'm going to be working on all of the pieces of the Wicked Witch of the West first. And I'm not really familiar with Wicked. I know it's a play on Broadway. I know it takes place in the Wizard of Oz universe, but not sure who the characters are. And I'm assuming that the character on the right side of this is another one of the Wicked Witches, maybe your sister, but I'm not really sure. So you guys will have to tell me in the comments if you're a huge fan of Wicked. So working on this piece here, this is kind of like a silhouette design, and that kind of just shows up where you can see part of her hair here, and that kind of just ends up on the left side here. I tried to cut out this, print out this entire image to be exactly the same size as my canvas, but it didn't quite work out that way, so I kind of have to use that as best I can when I'm sticking the whole thing down. I kind of have to use it as my guideline as best I can. So there we got that piece in the center. I'm going to peel this up, and it did kind of get stuck together a little bit, so I kind of had to peel it apart and keep going from there. I'm going to use this giant paper image once again as I got my guideline, and the left part of it obviously lines right up with the left side of the cardstock, so I don't need to worry about that. It's just really a trick of finding out exactly where to stick it up and down on that side. So now working on the only part of her face that you can see, and I'm going to be using some black and red here for her lips. So I'm cutting that out. So there's the red. Using a little bit of packaging tape here and there to make sure everything gets stuck down. On the little pieces, it definitely helps to use packaging tape because you can't really hold a little piece of paper and try to cut it at the same time. It really doesn't work at all. So I'm going to be using the paper image to find out exactly where to stick that. Then I'm going to use the giant paper image to find out exactly where to stick that. So this giant paper image definitely comes in handy. Unfortunately, it does get kind of messed up and cut up as you do go along, so you kind of have to keep that in mind. Otherwise, you're going to end up with just a shredded paper image, and then you'll have to either print out another one or just kind of guess from there. So you definitely want to treat your giant paper template as a as something you want to keep using. I'm actually going to be using some of the pastel colored tape in this video, the pink pastel color, and that's going to be coming next. So here's the outline of the other Wicked Witch, I'm assuming here, and that lines up right on the right side. So I just need to line that up. There's a little bit of excess on the top there. I wasn't exactly sure where it ended because once again I'm using the entire piece rather than just the paper image that I'm using here. So this is part of her sleeve, and right after that I will start working on the pink pastel color. It's kind of neat, I didn't really notice this until I was working with it, but the pink pastel duck brand tape is actually the exact same color as that grip on my hobby knife, which you can see there. And you'll see it again in a second. Right there you can tell it's exactly the same color, which is kind of cool. Never really noticed that before. So now working on the pink pastel here, and you'll notice that there's kind of a few little lines to show where her hand is and where her face begins. I decided I really didn't need to put anything there. If I had put like a little black lines, it really would have taken away from the pink pastel image, I think. So I definitely just made it one giant piece, and you can definitely tell that it's mostly her face and her hand, and she's definitely whispering into the ear of the other Wicked Witch here. So if you're familiar with the poster, of course, you're going to know exactly what it is, but even if you're not, you can pretty much tell what's going on here. So now I got that little cutout in the center there. I'm going to stick this entire thing on and try to line it up with the white here. And it's a little tricky because once you cut this thing exactly perfectly, it's not going to line up perfectly. So you kind of have to fill in a few of the blanks, and it usually takes a few times to do that. Now to work on her eyes, she's got a few crazy eyelashes there. Those end up kind of being like little spikes, and I wasn't really sure if I was going to use her eyebrow or not, because sometimes when you're working on the duct tape, it's a solid color, and as you can see, her eyebrow is kind of like a penciled in color. It's not one solid color, so I did actually end up deciding to use it because it did work out pretty well. You really just have to gauge it by ear here. So here's a little bit of green in there for her eye, and trying to make it look as like an eye as best I can. It's a little hard to tell when it's not stuck on the actual image, but you'll see what it looks like once I stick it on. It looks a lot better. So it looks much better there. Here's the eyebrow, of course. This one gave me a little bit of trouble and came apart, but I had to stick it back down as best I could. So there's the Wicked poster time lapse. I hope you guys liked the video. It's definitely one of the coolest time lapses I've ever made. And if you're a fan of Wicked, I really hope you'll like it. There'll be another video coming tonight about the Duct Tape Festival, and I will catch you later on tonight for that. So hopefully you liked the video. Catch you next time.